If you're a die-hard Browns fan and love breaking down the game like we do, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a blitz. When the Cleveland Browns made the blockbuster move to acquire Deshawn Watson in 2022, it was seen as a franchise-altering decision. They didn't just trade for a talented quarterback, they emptied the vault. The Browns handed Watson a jaw-dropping $230 million fully guaranteed contract. That kind of money would have made sense for a perennial MVP contender. But this deal? It was as bold as it was baffling. At the time, the Browns defended the move as one that would stabilize the franchise for the next decade. But now, just a few short years later, it's becoming one of the most disastrous miscalculations in NFL history. The promise, the expectations, the headlines, they've all unraveled. And what's left is a massive hole in Cleveland's future. Both financially and competitively, Browns fans had hoped Watson would be their savior. Instead, he's become a cautionary tale in how not to manage a team's most important position. Let's not forget the context here. Watson hadn't played in over a year when Cleveland made the move. He was embroiled in legal controversies and faced a massive public relations storm. Yet the Browns went all in. They gave up multiple first-round picks and then followed it up with a fully guaranteed contract, something unheard of in the NFL, especially for a player with so much uncertainty surrounding him. Fast forward to today, and Watson has only played in 12 games since joining the Browns. The flashes of brilliance, they've been few and far between. The chemistry, non-existent. And now, with a torn Achilles in his 2025 season likely gone, the Browns are staring down the barrel of a historic failure. This isn't just about football anymore. It's about mismanagement, overconfidence, and blind faith in a player who simply hasn't delivered. The organization gambled big, and they lost bigger. Bleacher Report didn't hold back either. In a recent ranking of the worst contracts heading into the 2025 season, Watson's deal didn't just top the list, it was called a contender for the worst in league history. Think about that. Not just bad for this year, not just bad for the Browns, but possibly the single worst contract in the entire history of the National Football League. Christopher Knox wrote, and I quote, "Barring a massive surprise, Cleveland is set to pay out another $167.1 million for Watson to quietly go away." That statement alone tells you everything you need to know. This isn't about potential anymore. It's about damage control. Cleveland will continue to carry that weight and the financial handcuffs that come with it for years to come, whether Watson ever throws another pass or not. That's not just bad. That's catastrophic. The Browns front office knew they had to act this offseason. Watson's health issues, coupled with his inconsistent play, meant they couldn't rely on him in 2025, so they got busy. First, they brought back veteran Joe Flacco, a guy who gave them a little spark last season and knows how to manage games. Then came a surprising move, trading for Kenny Pickett from the Philadelphia Eagles. Pickett might not be elite, but he's young, mobile, and hungry. It didn't stop there. Cleveland used the NFL draft to take not one, but two quarterbacks, Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. The message is loud and clear. They're rebuilding the quarterback room from scratch. They're not waiting on Watson anymore. They can't afford to. Whether it's Flacco's experience, Pickett's grit, or the raw upside of the rookies, the Browns are throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. That tells you how deep this Watson hole really is. Normally, when a team has a franchise quarterback under contract, they build around him. They don't go out and sign 4 more guys. But Cleveland, they're hedging every bet. They know Watson's $230 million guaranteed contract is an anchor dragging them down. They owe him $167.1 million more no matter what. And that cap hit in 2026, an unfathomable $80.7 million. That's the kind of number that can wreck a team's roster flexibility for years. It forces you to make sacrifices elsewhere. Letting go of talented defenders, skipping out on needed offensive linemen, or passing on high-priced receivers. So even if one of their new quarterbacks shines, the Browns are still trapped financially. The Watson deal doesn't just affect the QB position. It affects every position. It limits creativity. It hampers growth. It's a shadow that just won't go away. It's hard not to feel for the fans. Cleveland's had more than his fair share of football heartbreak. For decades, they've watched talented teams implode, quarterbacks flop, and coaching staffs cycle in and out like a revolving door. When Watson arrived, it was supposed to be different. This time, the Browns were going all in. They had the defense. They had the offensive weapons. All they needed was a star under center. And yet here we are, another failed promise. Another reminder that no matter how much money you throw at a problem, there's no substitute for sound judgment. Fans who bought Watson jerseys are now stuck with painful reminders every time he's on the injury report, every time that cap figure comes up, every time the team signs another backup, it reopens the wound. It's a saga that feels less like a sports story and more like a Shakespearean tragedy, with $230 million as the price tag. What's even more frustrating is the silence around Watson. He hasn't said much. The team hasn't said much. There's no clear timeline, no reassurance, no signs of a major comeback in the works. And maybe that's what hurts the most. It's not just that Watson isn't performing, it's that there's no confidence he ever will. You look at other teams, the Chiefs with Mahomes, the Bills with Allen, even the Texans with C.J. Stroud. And you see a future. You see growth. With Watson and the Browns, you see uncertainty. Cleveland has become a case study in what happens when desperation meets poor decision-making. They weren't just trying to win, they were trying to make a statement. And that statement backfired in spectacular fashion. Instead of being contenders, they're now the poster child for what not to do when building a franchise around a quarterback. Now, let's be fair for a second. Watson had elite talent. There was a time when he was legitimately one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league. His seasons in Houston, statistically, were nothing short of phenomenal. But time off, injuries, and the baggage of legal issues take a toll, mentally, physically, and reputationally. The Watson that arrived in Cleveland wasn't the same player that lit up the scoreboard in Houston. And in the NFL, that drop-off matters. It's a league built on razor-thin margins. You can't afford to be 80% of your best self when the rest of the league is operating at full speed. So while some may still cling to the hope of a miracle comeback, the reality is clear. This isn't the same Deshawn Watson. And unless something changes drastically, and soon, he never will be again. That's a hard pill for the Browns to swallow. There's also a broader impact to consider. Watson's contract reset the quarterback market. Suddenly, every top-tier QB wanted fully guaranteed deals. It created tension between teams and players. Lamar Jackson, for example, was rumored to have modeled his contract demands after Watson's. Owners around the league were furious with Cleveland for setting that precedent. And now, as Watson struggles to even stay on the field, those frustrations are turning into I told you so moments. The Browns didn't just hurt themselves, they disrupted the entire business of quarterback contracts. The ripple effects of this deal will be felt for years across the NFL. And if you're a team executive looking back, you probably see Watson's contract as the moment the market spiraled out of control. It's not just Cleveland paying the price. It's every franchise trying to negotiate with a QB who says, well, Watson got this much, so where do the Browns go from here? Truthfully, they're stuck, at least for now. They've made moves to build a QB safety net, but unless one of their 4 new additions turns into a franchise player, they're in limbo. The Watson contract will continue to drain resources and limit options. Best case scenario, one of the rookies catches fire and Cleveland rides a cheap QB contract while Watson quietly fades into the background. Worst case scenario, none of the new options work out and they're left paying $250 million for a quarterback who can't play. Either way, the Watson saga is a defining moment in the franchise's history, and not for the reason they hoped. It's a stark reminder that in the NFL, bold doesn't always mean better. Sometimes bold means blind, and when you miss that big, it echoes through the league and through history. Enjoying the content so far? Smash that like button and drop your take in the comments. We want to hear what you think about the Browns this season. Browns fans, we got a bombshell coming out of Cleveland that could send shockwaves through the entire NFL. Just when we thought things were starting to settle down in the Dawg Pound, Myles Garrett, the face of the Browns defense, the heartbeat of that locker room, has reportedly demanded distance from none other than Deshawn Watson. That's right. The Pro Bowl pass rusher isn't just voicing concerns behind closed doors anymore. He's going public, and it's not pretty. This isn't about scheme or stats. This is deeper. We're talking about fractures within the core leadership of the team. And if you're a Browns fan hoping for a smooth offseason and a fresh start, this news is going to feel like a sucker punch. Because when Garrett speaks, you listen. And when what he's saying is this explosive, you've got to ask, how bad are things really inside that Cleveland locker room? Sources close to the organization are saying that tensions between Garrett and Watson have been simmering for months, maybe even since last season. While on the field, it looked like the Browns were trying to rally around their quarterback. Behind the scenes, players were frustrated, not just with Watson's inconsistent play or his massive contract, but with the way his presence has affected team chemistry. And now Myles Garrett has had enough. According to insiders, Garrett voiced concerns in a team meeting, expressing that he no longer wants to be closely associated with Watson. Not in press conferences, not in team branding, and not as a perceived partner in leadership. He feels that Watson's drama is casting a shadow over the entire franchise, and that the defense, which carried the team at times, is being lumped into the same sinking ship. It's not just a personal issue. This is about the identity of the Browns. Garrett, who's given blood, sweat, and soul to this team, reportedly feels that the locker room is becoming fractured, split between those still trying to support Watson out of obligation and those quietly fed up with the circus surrounding him. Some veterans are siding with Garrett, frustrated by what they see as double standards and a lack of accountability. Others, particularly some offensive players who feel loyalty to Watson, are trying to keep the peace. But here's the kicker. Garrett isn't interested in peace anymore. He's demanding clarity, accountability, and above all, separation. That's a bold move, especially for a team that's trying to build toward a playoff run. But maybe, just maybe, it's the leadership shakeup this team actually needs. Let's be honest here. This isn't just about what happens on Sunday. This is about the long-term future of the Cleveland Browns. Watson came in with enormous baggage and an even bigger price tag. The Browns mortgaged a chunk of their soul to bring him in. But when your best player, your franchise cornerstone, is saying enough is enough, you can't just brush that under the rug. Garrett's message isn't just a personal protest, it's a warning sign. He's saying, we can't win with this energy. We can't build a winning culture if the locker room is walking on eggshells. This isn't Garrett being dramatic. This is Garrett putting the team above PR, above politics, and above front office egos. That's leadership. And it's going to force some uncomfortable conversations in Berea. The reaction from the fan base has been swift and divided. Some fans are rallying behind Garrett, praising his honesty and passion for the team. They see him as the voice of reason in a franchise that's made some truly questionable decisions. Others are worried this kind of internal conflict will destroy whatever chemistry the team still has left. But the truth is, Garrett isn't the kind of guy to go public without cause. This isn't some attention grab. This is years of frustration, boiling over. And if he's willing to take this public, it means private conversations failed. It means Garrett tried to work things out behind closed doors and hit a wall. That's damning, because if a guy like Garrett feels unheard, who is this front office listening to? From a team culture perspective, this is uncharted territory. We've seen locker room tension before. It happens, but rarely does a player with Garrett's stature draw a line in the sand like this. We're not talking about a cryptic tweet or passive-aggressive comment. We're talking about a demand for organizational separation. What does that even look like in practice? Does it mean Garrett and Watson can't be in the same media availability? That they won't be co-captains? That team meetings are divided? If this divide isn't addressed fast and transparently, it risks becoming a full-blown civil war within the franchise. And in a league where margins are razor thin, this kind of turmoil can tank a season before it even begins. Let's not forget what's at stake. The Browns have one of the most talented defensive units in the league, and under Garrett's leadership, they've built an identity that fans can be proud of. But if this conflict festers, the team risks losing more than games. They could lose the heart and soul of their roster. Garrett isn't just a player, he's a leader, a tone setter, a guy younger players look up to. If he feels disillusioned, how long before that spreads? How long before guys start checking out mentally? And worse, how long before Garrett starts eyeing the exit? If things don't change, it's not crazy to think he could eventually ask for a trade. And if that happens, the Browns are right back to square one, asking themselves how they lost. Their franchise player to internal dysfunction. So what's next? The ball is in the Browns' court now. The front office has to make a decision. Do they continue to protect Watson at all costs, or do they start listening to the voices of their locker room leaders? Do they risk alienating Garrett, or do they finally confront the uncomfortable truth that the Watson era has never truly fit? These aren't easy questions, but if the Browns want to salvage the 2025 season and rebuild trust inside their own walls, they have to stop pretending this isn't happening. Because make no mistake, Garrett has exposed a very real, very raw fracture in team dynamics. Ignoring it won't make it go away. It'll just let it rot. You have to wonder how Kevin Stefanski is going to handle this. The Browns head coach has already weathered more controversy than most during his tenure, and now he's facing his biggest leadership test yet. Can he unify a locker room that's clearly divided? Can he reestablish a sense of common purpose without alienating either side? And most importantly, can he get through to Deshawn Watson, a player who, for all his talent, has failed to inspire the trust and camaraderie that quarterbacks are supposed to bring? Leadership isn't about throwing touchdowns. It's about rallying the people around you. And right now, Watson feels more like a weight than a lift for this team. Stefanski's next few decisions could determine whether he remains the head coach into next season or becomes the scapegoat for a deeper organizational failure. At the end of the day, this isn't about drama for the sake of drama. This is about culture, identity, and the soul of a franchise. Myles Garrett has drawn a line. He's saying we need accountability, we need integrity, and we need unity. If that means tough decisions, so be it, because this team has the talent to be great, but only if the leaders are aligned. And right now, they're anything but. Browns fans, buckle up. This story is just beginning. And depending on how the Browns respond, it could either be the start of a painful collapse or the spark that finally brings real change to Cleveland. Thanks for riding with us on another Browns Blitz. If you like the video, share it with a fellow fan, hit subscribe, and ring that bell so you're always part of the Dawg Pound conversation. Go Browns!